Hello everyone and welcome to Victoria's Cantina. Today we're back with another Rebor review, this time of the Velociraptor Winston 1/18 scale dinosaur model. So looking at the box here, very typical Rebor. You get a very nice satin black finish. Look at the dinosaur itself. You don't see a skeleton on this one. The back of the box mentions the Rebor Collections catalog, which isn't something they have advertised before. So presumably Velociraptor Winston is going to be the very first in this series. You do see two items on the back. One is Winston and the other one is the bronze version of Winston that comes packed with his son Stan. So inside of the sleeve, we have a cardboard box, just as we always do. So we go ahead and pull that open, and it looks like we have some foam. And inside here is Winston. There he is right there, nicely secured in plastic. Outside of the plastic baggie, we can see that Winston has some plastic bands around his head, so let me go ahead and get those off. Okay, and here's Winston out of the packaging, and you're probably thinking what I'm thinking, and that is Jurassic Park. This is quite clearly a representation of the Jurassic Park Velociraptor, which Rebor has done before, so it's no shock there. And I gotta say, the results here are very, very nice. From all angles, it is very detailed, just as Rebor models always are. It's colored very nicely. He does come attached to a display base, and as mentioned previously, is in the 1/18 scale. So he's supposed to line up with 3 3/4 inch scale figures quite well, and we will test this out in just a little bit. So first things first, let me go and show you the display base here. This is a different display base than what Rebor has done before because it is attached to the dinosaur. And underneath, it does say Velociraptor Winston, Rebor. It looks like there's some paint rubs on the bottom, or the paint just didn't come out all the way. An image of Winston right there. And to get him off the base, you are just going to pull on his legs. And when you do that, you will see that there are two little metal spokes that stick out from the base. The base itself kind of looks like sand, I would say. It's nice looking. It's detailed. It's textured. I like it. And underneath Winston's feet, you will see two holes for plugging him onto the base. So that's a very interesting design choice for Rebor because they haven't done that before. Looking up close at Winston's head, you can see that it really does look great. There is a lot of nice sculpted detail in there, just as there always is with Rebor products. The eye looks very nice. I really like the eye. It's kind of like a minty green color. With a slit pupil and a very glossy look to it. I really, really like the way that looks. Very nice texture around the entirety of the head. You can see that he's got those classic Jurassic Park ridges around the outer eye and at the front near the nose. Here up top, also very nicely textured and detailed. And I mean, I like it. He doesn't quite have binocular vision like Velociraptors would in real life. In Jurassic Park, they probably didn't have the best binocular vision. Opposite side of the head looks equally quite as nice. I almost feel like the pupil on the right side is a little bit more forward in the eyeball than on its left side, if ever so slightly so. Could just be me though. I could be wrong about that. As far as the coloring goes, it is similar to Jurassic Park, but it is a little bit different as well. You can see that there's a lot of yellow on here that they used underneath the figures, black stripes and darker coloration as it goes near the back. There's more white on the bottom. In Jurassic Park, they didn't quite have that much yellow or that much white, but the rest of the coloration, as far as that really dark tan and black sort of look goes, is pretty accurate. So that is nice. Now, one thing I'm not hugely fond of here is the stark contrast between the more yellowy color up top and then the more bright white down at the bottom. It's not very blended. Like there's not much of a gradient between both colors. I think that should have been done a little bit more nicely because it does sort of give the illusion that it is a toy with an opening jaw. If they would have blended that color a little bit better, I think it would have looked a little bit more naturalistic. Not a huge deal by any means, but it is something that we notice. Even underneath though, you can see that there's multiple colors employed here, not just white, but you get some gray, you get some yellowish looking streaks. I really do like what they did here. They really did a lot of coloring detail. Now he does have the opening jaw, as I mentioned, and to do that, it's a very tight jaw, so we're gonna have to Just gently pull on it so we can get it open. There we go. And now that we have the mouth open, you can see inside. And very, very nice. This looks really, really good. The teeth are very nicely done. They have, at least on the bottom, a sort of translucent effect, kind of like what you have in real life. If you go look at your teeth, there's a little bit of a translucency to them, and they carry that out quite well here on the lower jaw. Top jaw, they didn't really do that for some reason. I think it would have been great if they did, but it looks like they're just painted, whereas they're actually like a translucent sort of plastic here on bottom. I really like that. That really adds to the realism of the figure. It's just too bad they didn't do it in the top as well. Now, as far as looking inside the mouth goes, you can see that there is some detail in there. It's kind of hard to capture here on camera, but you do have some sculpted detail at the very top roof of the mouth. There you go. You can kind of see it right there. And inside, you can see the little fleshy bits between the jaws. You can see the tongue, and has a nice slicked look to it, just to make it look a little more realistic. Now, as far as the rest of the body goes, you also get some very nice sculpted detail on it. You can see that you have lots of nice scales on here, very nice texture, and it really has that Jurassic Park reptilian sort of look to it. I really like the sculpt of the body. It's great looking. I mean, it doesn't look out of proportion or anything. It certainly looks in line with what we see in the Jurassic Park films. The tail is very nice and long, maybe a little bit on the skinny side, particularly here at the base. Maybe it should be a little more tapered, but it still looks great. Arms are very nice and long, and this is a first for a Rebor dinosaur, is that he actually does have articulated arms, so you can pose them. That's really, really cool. And those arms, I mean, just look at them. Look at the sculpted detail on there. This is absolutely terrific. I love those long claws, just the way that he's holding his arms, depending on how you pose it, close to the body, looks fantastic. Or, one up and one kind of down, like it's maybe trying to get something. That's really, really cool. Maybe you can pose it trying to open up a door or something. The rest of the body here underneath, very, very nicely done. I really like the folds in the skin and all the detail and wrinkles and such. And the legs look very nice. Really, really like what they did here. It's a little bit on the glossy side, which I'm okay with. I didn't really like it a whole lot on the 1/6 scale Dimorphodons, but this isn't quite as shiny, and having a little bit of a shininess seems to work a little bit better for some reason on Winston. So that's pretty nice. Legs are very nicely sculpted. You can see the paint detail. It's very nicely blended back here. I really like what they did. And the stripes, very nicely integrated into the paint scheme. You can see the famous sickle claws right there, which to me look a little bit long. I don't know how accurate that might be to the films or to real life, but the claws just seem a little bit on the long side. They look good. They just seem a little bit long. The bottom of the legs also look a little bit skinny to me. It could be accurate to Jurassic Park. It just kind of strikes me as being a little bit skinny down there, like in the ankle areas. But you can't deny the sculpted detail. It looks fantastic. And even on the bottom, it looks really, really good. Very long tail, like I mentioned. It's very skinny, but it works. It looks good. And I really like what they did here. You can see the ribs right there. Awesome. Now, interestingly, you can stand Winston without the display base. And it doesn't feel quite as secure without the base, but it does work, at least on my figure. You can stand him without it, so that's pretty nice. Now, in terms of size, as far as the height goes, you're looking at about 4 1/3 inches. And as far as the overall length, Winston is going to come in at about 7.5 inches long. Here's a comparison of Winston along with the Papo 2016 Velociraptor. And although I'm a big fan of the Papo Velociraptor, looking at these two side by side, it's quite clear that Winston is much more faithful to the Jurassic Park Velociraptor. He's also a good little bit bigger and more robust than Papo's version. Here's a look at Winston next to the Kenner, the Lost World Jurassic Park Velociraptor. And you can see that these actually scale up even better. They're about the same size, the head's about the same length, and the proportions of both bodies seem to be in pretty good scale to one another. Now, Rebor has said that being a 1/18 scale dinosaur, that Winston would fit in with 3 3/4 inch scale figures. So here we have Alan Grant, who of course isn't quite 3 3/4 inches, but instead is in the 4.5 inch scale, even though I think that these size up very nicely one to the other. Now, if we bring in a proper 3 3/4 inch scale figure, you can see that Winston is a little bit taller. It just feels a little bit more correct. And here is Winston alongside the Rebor Raptor. Now, these actually do look pretty good next to each other, despite the fact that Winston, of course, is 1/18 scale, whereas the Raptor is 1/35 scale. And here's Winston along with Velociraptor Stan from the Rebor Scout series, and they scale up pretty nicely one to the other. Stan isn't anywhere near as detailed or as nicely painted as Winston is, but nonetheless, they look similar enough that they do fit in. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so there you have it. This is the Rebor Velociraptor Winston 1/18 scale dinosaur figurine. All in all, you guys, it's a very nicely put together piece. It's got a really nice sculpt. It's very nicely textured, very nicely detailed, and it's also really nicely painted, even though I do have some issues with the way the lower jaw looks in comparison to the upper jaw. I particularly think that the eyes look very nice on this model. It's in a very nice pose, and I really like how you can move its arms up and down. That's a really nice touch. I like the display base. I like the fact that it has pegs in it. That way you don't have to worry about Winston toppling over, which has been an issue with some of Rebor's other models. So it's great to see them doing something different with this one, which does benefit the figure. If you're a collector of Rebor dinosaurs, then this is definitely one to be adding to your collection, even though it isn't going to be in scale with your 1/35th or 1/6 scale dinosaurs. As a standalone piece, I think that Winston looks fantastic, and it's particularly cool that they made him in this size, so that he is size compatible with 3 3/4 inch and even Kenner Jurassic Park dinosaurs and figures. I also really like the translucency effect of those lower teeth. I just wish they would have applied it to the top teeth as well. But hey, I'll take what we can get. And although this isn't a perfect release, it's a very solid one, and probably one of my favorite Rebor dinosaurs in my collection. If you're a Jurassic Park fan, then I would say certainly look into this, because even though the coloration isn't 100% dead on to the Jurassic Park films, it's pretty close. You'd be making a mistake not to have it in your collection. This is definitely the best representation of the Jurassic Park Velociraptor in the 1/18th scale. Alright, my friends, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, give us a like and subscribe. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and as always, I want to thank you for watching Victoria's Cantina. Till next time, my friends. Bye-bye.